Hi everyone, welcome to episode 10 of SEO Tales. My name is Itamar Blauer and I'm joined with Craig Campbell today live on LinkedIn. And we're going to be talking about LinkedIn and LinkedIn marketing and some of the stuff that's working well on LinkedIn right now that you can take advantage of. So my name is Itamar Blauer and we've been doing SEO Tales for quite a while now. And this episode is going to be a great one. First time we're doing it live on LinkedIn for you guys. So I think let's get right into it, Craig. So when we talk about engagement on LinkedIn, what are some of the stuff that's been working for you in terms of getting yourself more engagement?
So I cheated back at the very start. Now, I'm going to tell you a little bit, a bit of a story. I'll try and keep it very, very quick. So you get LinkedIn, you're sitting on it and you're going, fuck, this is shit. No one's talking to me. No one engages with me. I'm friends with like 15 people. How the hell are you going to get out there and network and do all of that? So every morning I used to just go bang, 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 bang and add any old random person. Now, that's not the right way to do it, but that's how it started for me, just adding any old random person and went for it. Now, I'd done this probably 7 years ago or something. Then it still wasn't working that well. So complete waste of time. And also bear in mind, you can only have 30,000 LinkedIn connections. So adding all of those random people becomes a pain in the ass when you very quickly hit that 30,000 connection marker. And you have to delete people before you can add people who are relevant to your industry. But I cheated. I used a lot of bots and whatnot years ago to get engagement and, do different things with LinkedIn, such as endorsing people, viewing their profile. You can send them messages and all of this stuff. And years ago, and I don't know if you remember this, Itamar, they used to have like a league table, which was manipulated by the amount of profile views you got, basically. So I would be like the number one SEO guy because I was using this kind of bot to manipulate the thing, so to speak, which got me a lot more traffic, a lot more people adding me and stuff like that. So yeah, that's how it started for me to build up the engagement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's quite interesting. I suppose back in the day, like you mentioned, there were ways to, well, it was more of a broken system, if we put it like that. But obviously,
by the way, these things can still work to this day, but we'll come to that later on.
I'd say much more of a broken system, I suppose, than it is today. But obviously, like you mentioned, we'll get into more about that in a little while. But in terms of what I was doing, I'd say now more contemporary practices for LinkedIn engagement and stuff that's worked for me is about the types of content that you're producing and about making the most of the connections that you do have. Because obviously, being in the SEO industry, you will get a lot of connection requests and you accept them and it's somebody trying to sell you guest posts or whatever it may be. But I feel like there's still a lot of value in the connections that you have currently. So when you're posting a piece of content and it's freshly posted, if you are to message certain people in your connections, and this will only take a couple of minutes, but people that you know very well, whether they're your friends or people from the industry that you've had conversations with in the past, and you can literally just send them a link saying, hey, I just posted this update, would like your thoughts. Asking people for engagement still works. And the more important thing with LinkedIn is about the freshness of the content and the amount of engagement that you get on it whilst it's fresh. So if I put up a post and within the first half an hour, it's already got 10 to 15 likes, then LinkedIn is going to be pushing that much higher on the feeds of my connections. And also the people who do engage with that, that's still going to pass on to second and third connections on their feeds. So it's really, really important to make sure that you utilize your network and utilize the people who will want to engage with your content. And when they do, obviously, you're getting your content out to more people who are targeted in the sense that they're most likely going to be people who are related to your industry. So the posts that I put out, most of the people who look at them and engage with them and see them are people within SEO, within digital marketing. So it's all relevant traffic and that obviously can help you get more leads as a result, if that's what you're trying to do as a business. So, that's the kind of engagement that's worked for me. Do you have anything else to add to that, Craig, like what you do now?
Yeah, so one thing I want to add to that, and what you're saying is perfectly right, putting out new content and stuff like that. What I have found, though, is if I put out a new content, which may have a link to my website, it may have a link to a YouTube video, it may be anything, that is not going to get the full exposure to your full wider network out there. What I found is I always say link in the first comment. Because if you start putting links on there and LinkedIn, and you're trying to take people away from LinkedIn, they're obviously going to counter against that and not show that to a much wider audience. So bear that in mind as well. Guys, there are a couple I also want to just add, there's a couple of people in the chat. We will be answering your questions at the end. We'll go through them. Robin, Janine McLennan, good to see you. Nice to hear a Scottish accent. We don't often find them on LinkedIn. Christopher Berlin, Angel, Ragiver, Nixley, Christopher Berlin, and so on. So we will go through, put your questions in the chat, guys. We will come to those once we went through a little sequence of what works for us, and we'll start talking to you guys. So keep the questions coming. But so I've not much more to add to that, Itamar, in terms of what you said, other than people, with the greatest intentions, maybe saying, hey guys, I spoke a bit about link building here, but I've got a full link building guide, on my website, and you're trying to help people, but you're putting that link trying to drag people off of LinkedIn. And that is going to severely, and I'm talking about severely, impact the exposure you get. If I do that, on average, I'll get 22 views or something on a post. If I don't do that, I'm literally going to get thousands. So that's how severe they take that by adding a link into your post. But on to what works in terms of engagement. We obviously spoke about that. That obviously is up to you and your industry, and what works well in your industry. It may be more image led if you're a hairdresser. It may be more educational if it's SEO. So just bear that in mind. One size doesn't fit all. But on to the next topic. How easy is the algorithm to manipulate, Itamar, in your experience? Have you done any manipulation at all?
I'd say hands-on manipulation with bots and things like that I haven't done, but there are loads of ways to quite easily organically manipulate the algorithm, as weird as that sounds. But the thing that you mentioned as well with putting your links in the comments, that's one way that you can kind of manipulate the algorithm into boosting your posts. So for example, if I'm trying to make a post about a video that I've uploaded, I'll just get a snippet of it that's rendered on its own, a short snippet, and upload it natively onto LinkedIn with some subtitles to make it easier for people to see. And then, like you mentioned before, I'll put the full link to the YouTube in the comments, because LinkedIn aren't going to kind of penalize any links that you've got in the comments. But if it's on the post, like you mentioned, and you're getting people away from the platform, then that's a problem for LinkedIn. It's in their best interest to keep people on LinkedIn as much as they can. But other things that I've seen recently is just how easy it is to get your posts kind of featured and get your posts trending for different hashtags. So for example, I've seen notifications come up for me saying that a post has been trending for hashtag SEO, but it had literally 8 likes. And for me, I find that just absolutely ridiculous that you can get a post of your connection to show up on everyone's notification saying it's trending when you've got something that's literally got around 10 likes. And I feel like when we're talking about manipulating the algorithms and just how easy it is really now to get a post trending on certain hashtags that have a lot of volume, hashtag SEO, that's quite a big hashtag to have for people in the SEO industry, right? And just the simplicity to get that content trending, And like we mentioned before about messaging your network, having people who can engage quickly, that's a way to get your content trending very quickly and massively increase of its reach. So that's what I'd have to say in terms of manipulating the algorithm per se. But Craig, do you have anything different, any ways that you found to do that?
So as I was telling you earlier, I used to use a tool. I use a different tool now, which is called linkedhelper.com. But, in terms of profile views and all that kind of stuff, those things are all things that, LinkedIn want to see happening. These things are all very easy to trigger, and you can trigger a whole bunch of stuff out there in terms of, engagement signals, if you like, on LinkedIn. Using Linked Helper, you can also do things like send recently added connections, just a generic email, and all of that kind of stuff. So have a look at linkedhelper.com. It is literally $15 a month, and it really, really does help, add people, endorse them, message recently added connections. You can also set it up to delete people. So it's just basically a Chrome browser extension, and I think that works really well. But as you say, other things, in terms of getting likes onto your, your posts or your articles or whatever it's going to be, that's where it's at. That's, those engagement metrics are also important, in terms of trending and, popularity and everything else. And I think with everything, it's all about those engagement signals. Sadly, you obviously can't get likes from the tool I'm talking about or anything like that. But that kind of, takes us onto the next topic as such. How do you manipulate that, Itamar? Is it a case of going to Fiverr and paying people to do that? Is it micro workers, engagement pods? Because these things are going to be seen as black hat techniques, if you like, when it comes to LinkedIn, things that you possibly shouldn't be doing. And also, you shouldn't be emailing your friends saying, "Go and give me a like on that post." That's not how it's supposed to work. So in terms of kind of black hat stuff, engagement pods, or anything else, you mentioned there, how to become trending with 10 likes. Tell me how I get 10 likes. What is an engagement pod the way to go, or is there something quicker, easier? I mean, what I'm looking for is the answer that's going to be the cheapest, most cost-effective and quick way. I don't want to message and bother everyone, saying, going to like this. I don't want to be that guy. So what else is there out there?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think with engagement pods in general, it's something that LinkedIn has tried to crack down on, because what you would find is that you'd have these groups of people, and it may be anywhere between 50 and 150 people who will always start engaging on certain posts when they're up. So you would post your link to the update that you've got, and people will almost immediately start to engage with it, put some comments. And mind you, most of the time they'd be quite generic, which can also be an indicator as to what type of content is from engagement pods. But LinkedIn don't like that. And so what people have started doing is they've started to scale down engagement pods to the point where it's harder to detect, because the amount of people, and I've got connections who have used engagement pods, and what they're doing now really is it's like it'll be very, very difficult to kind of enter these circles with engagement pods. And you would essentially have maybe between 10 to 25 people. And it's exactly the same process, but they'll be a lot more tailored in the sense that they will comment things that are relevant to that post. They will use different types, the reactions that you can get on LinkedIn now. So it's not just going to be likes, it's going to be quite varied. But all of that still makes your post look genuine, and that LinkedIn is still going to favor it. And it's quite difficult on the algorithm to identify, what kind of engagement is natural or what kind of engagement comes from engagement pods. But like you said earlier, if you don't want to be that guy who's messaging people. With engagement pods, that's kind of the whole premise, right? It's the premise that you're connected with this group of people and you will be sharing each other's content and you'll be engaging.
I don't mean it like in an engagement pod. I don't mind putting it in there. What I was meaning is I don't want to email or message 10 people all the time saying, go and like my LinkedIn post. That is irritating because people do it with me all the time. Go to give me a comment on my YouTube video, go to, retweet this, and you're like, dude, fuck off, I'm busy, please leave me alone. And sometimes you'll do it, sometimes you won't. So that's what I was referring to in that sense, rather than go to the premise that is engagement pods. I don't mind that, and I get how that can work for you. One thing though on that, Itamar, is years ago I was on an engagement pod, and what I felt was there were certain guys in the engagement pod who always wanted their stuff. They would be quick to slap their stuff in there and get everyone to do it, but it wasn't reciprocal. When I was putting my stuff out, it wasn't getting the same level of traction as the guys with the big egos. And I think that's something you need to be careful of in these engagement pods, because there's, certainly a lot of people with good intentions who go about doing it for everyone, and there's users and abusers who go in there and try and rip the piss out of everyone on the engagement pods. And I feel that kind of put me off the engagement pod idea before. A couple of big names in the industry, and felt that their stuff should always get shared, but they were never quick to share anything of anyone else's. So it had the reverse impact for me. I was just like, I'm not sharing any of their crap, end of. And all I was doing was trying to help the people that helped me. So, that's my experience with them. But I'm sure there's good ones out there as well.
Yeah, I think engagement pods are going to be very situational to your niche, but also the people who are in them, obviously. And if it's not monitored correctly, then that's a problem. Then most likely it's not going to work. You're not going to get the engagement or the level of engagement that you want. And you just have to be wary of that. So if you are trying to look for engagement pods or even set up your own, you need to be very, very strict on the people who you have to take part in them, because if you don't, then it's just going to be an absolute mess. But there are other ways to get this engagement. And I mean, if you look at places like Fiverr, you'll probably find people who will engage with your content for a price, who do use different accounts. I've not used that personally, so I don't know the extent to which something like that will work properly. But obviously there are ways, and I get sometimes connections who will add me and then they'll be like, do you want to swap endorsements and things like that? So you will find some people who also want to do that kind of stuff. And there's plenty of stuff that you can do on LinkedIn. Obviously, if you don't want to, take the time to go through yourself and message other people, or you think it's going to be a hassle, then, you do need to look elsewhere to kind of get these just processes done much more efficiently. And like you mentioned, the linked helper before, that's probably a tool that you can use to kind of help speed up certain processes for LinkedIn if you want to improve your profile and improve your overall the quality of it, and then that has a direct impact on your engagement. But I think let's kind of move on to forget the manipulation stuff. Let's talk about content on LinkedIn and what type of content works the best right now and what people should do in order to try and optimize that content.
So I'll kick off with this one. What type of content works best is not, I'm not entirely sure of that answer just yet, and I'll tell you why. LinkedIn Live is something that I got access to potentially 6 weeks ago, so I'm still playing around with it. So I'm not sure if this type of content is the best, whether it's the good old pushing a post out or laying an article out there. What I'm finding is mixing. What I'm doing at the moment is mixing it all up. The articles that I'm putting out, if it's a guide, if I've got a guide on something specific, what I'm finding is over a period of time, it doesn't get that instant traction. An article, it doesn't get in front of thousands of people's eyes, but over a prolonged period of time, that builds up. So that works reasonably well over a prolonged period of time if it's a nice guide. But I'm also, I think in terms of fast, quick exposure, I think the good old posts are probably the best way to put out your content, whether it be a video, whether it be a guide or whatever. I think, uploading it as a post is the one that's going to get the biggest exposure. Because what I'm finding also is, with the connections on LinkedIn, I could have connections all over the world. If I come on here right now at 2:00 and do a LinkedIn live, I'm cutting off the American audience, and it's nighttime for a lot of the people in Asia. So I'm not sure, LinkedIn Live, catches the biggest wider audience and has the biggest impact. I think it's still a post, but I think, overall, I think adding video content for me is working really, really well. Overall, whether that's a post that includes a video, I'll just simply upload the video to LinkedIn. I think people would rather watch a video than read, a 10,000 word article, if I'm being honest. Now, people disagree, but, certainly from my point of view, before I go to bed at night or whatever, I'm flicking through the phone, just looking for something interesting to watch rather than read. So I'm not going to sit and read your 10,000 word article. But if something comes up saying, hey guys, I've got a great new SEO tool and it's going to do this, this, and this, and I've got a video demonstration, I'll watch that, no problem at all. So I think for me, maybe from a selfish personal point of view, I think video works best overall though. What about yourself?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll have to agree on the video part. But the one thing to make sure that you do is upload the video natively, like we mentioned before. So, if you've got a video that you want to share, don't just paste in a YouTube URL, because that's not going to do anything good for your engagement and your reach. And so when you upload natively, obviously, with videos as well, keep it short, because obviously people like to watch content, but you think about how much content there is on LinkedIn or any social media platform for that matter. There's so much content out there. And if you upload it with subtitles as well, I feel like they get the most engagement, because not everyone is going to be watching a video and put the sound on, because when you scroll through and the video starts auto-playing, their sound will be muted by default. So, if you do add subtitles in there, or you have a subtitles file for the subtitles, an SRT file, I believe it is, a .srt file, then you can upload that as you're uploading the video, and then you can have that for your subtitles. So either do that or add the subtitles yourself while you're editing the video. So for video uploads, they've been, I think, the best content type for me. And even when I've been uploading, for example, if I'm sharing a blog post that I've written, I think the traditional kind of text does work really well. And the way that I've made it work for me is about trying to entice people to click read more when they're watching. So when you upload a post, you've got about 3 lines of text before, and if you add anything else, then it will go under the read more. So obviously making sure that the copy of your post is enticing enough for people to want to click read more. So either you're asking a question or you're just enticing them something with a statistic, anything to begin and gain that interest right off the bat will do you wonders. But obviously, to the point you mentioned earlier, Craig, about LinkedIn Live, and that's something that's very scarce. Not everyone has access to it. It's quite a closed circle of LinkedIn people who actually have access to LinkedIn Live. But I think the ability for every one of your notifications to get a notification, every one of your connections to get a notification that you've gone live is a massive boost. And I think, if you do have access to LinkedIn Live, that will definitely get you at least improving your awareness, because people will see your name crop up more and more. So if you're trying to increase your personal brand, that's something you can do. But that's obviously not something I've done. But the other things like videos and about the types of copy you put are really, really helpful. So before we answer the questions, let's move on quickly to the last thing about company pages, because I know that recently LinkedIn are putting more emphasis on company pages on LinkedIn, and especially the fact that you can add up to 3 hashtags and get notified when there are trending posts with that hashtags. So you can go ahead really on there and start engaging with other trending posts using your company page to improve your awareness and potentially get leads. So I think that's a really nice feature to have. Craig, what are your thoughts about company pages?
The shit. at the moment. They have been for years on LinkedIn. Now, obviously, LinkedIn are now trying to change that, and I have had notifications saying SEO is trending. Do you want to comment as Craig Campbell SEO, which is the name of my company? I've seen what you're referring to there, but I think it's a little bit like Facebook. You've got a Facebook personal profile and you've got a Facebook page. Whoever interacts with your Facebook page, really, who does? No one does. And I think LinkedIn can try all they want to try and get company profiles to, become more engaged, more active and stuff. People buy into people, and people over the last 5 or 10 years of using LinkedIn have just went all out, and it's all about their personal profile. And I can't really see them be asked changing over to trying to do the company page thing. Now, LinkedIn may be aggressive and force that to happen. I can't really see it happen, and I think I'll be focusing more of my efforts continuously on the LinkedIn profile, because obviously I've got a LinkedIn profile and I've got a LinkedIn company page. Now, I can't do LinkedIn Live on my company page, even though I can do it in my personal profile. So, I'm tying one hand behind my back by using the company profile because I don't have as much functionality as I do in my personal profile. So unless they change shit like that up, then I'm not interested.
Did they not give you an option when you submitted the application for LinkedIn Live to say which pages you're doing it from? Because when I applied, it does ask you, right, if you want to do it on behalf of your personal or company page. So maybe they don't let you do both, but
pick one or the other. But I'm pretty sure that I'm not sure what tests they do or what the criteria is in terms of who they give it to. But my company profile page maybe has 2,000 followers, and I've got 41,000 followers on my personal profile. So which one of them is going to tick the most boxes in terms of criteria? So I've selected the personal profile. I've got 30,000 connections. But why wouldn't I? That from my point of view, no one knows that criteria. I don't know the criteria. You just apply and you get it or you don't. And that's it. So, yeah, personally, I'm not a fan of pages. They may come good in the future. I like the feature, where you can, check the 3 different hashtags and whatnot. But I just think it'll be as dead as Facebook pages and whatnot. Personally speaking, so do you think do you think something different? Do you think there's going to be more emphasis on pages? How do you think it's going to work?
Yeah, well, I think, like you rightly mentioned before, the company pages have pretty much been dead for a long time. But I think it's more recently they're trying to put more of an emphasis on company pages. But I mean, at this moment in time, they're not going to be anywhere as near as powerful as your personal page, as your personal profile on LinkedIn. But, that's something that we'll just have to wait and see. Maybe they'll try and introduce new features. Maybe they'll be pushing more company page posts on people's feeds in the future, but that's something that we'll need to pretty much wait and see, really. But that's all I've got to say on that.
What we'll do now is go on to the questions that you guys have got, and answer as many as we possibly can. So I'm just going to pull them up. I'll put them on the screen. So Nix Lee is asking video, picture, or text content, which works better in LinkedIn. I think we kind of both agreed that videos work well in both of our opinions. But Nix was basically going on to ask, is there a specific time, meaning best engagement time? Do you get anything like that? Personally?
I think, engagement time in the sense that when is the best time to post so you get the most engagement, I think that's really down to you and your connections. And obviously, I've got the majority of my connections from the UK. So if I'm posting, within reason of good times in the UK that I know people will be on LinkedIn. But there are loads of studies that people have done that show the best time to post on LinkedIn, for instance. So I would say if you've got connections from all around the world, do a time of the day that's quite beneficial to multiple time zones, in the sense that you could do it in the afternoon for the UK. That's going to be, early morning US time. So maybe people, before they get to work, they might be on LinkedIn or on their commute or whatever. And obviously in other places, like Craig, I know you've got loads of connections from Asia. So within Asia, it's going to be a bit later as well. It might be the evening for them. So you really just need to first know, what connections you have personally, and then just try and optimize posting the time. And obviously there's certain days you don't really want to post content on, that I've been guilty for before. Like I've posted on Mondays, which is a horrible idea. So I'm going to stop doing that. But yeah, certain times of day, certain days of the week, but there are studies that I've done. Do you have anything else to add on that, Craig?
I think you have to use a common sense approach in terms of what your audience looks like, and only you know that. For example, I do a show tomorrow, not just on LinkedIn, it goes across multiple channels with a guy called Chris Palmer. Chris is based in America. I've got a lot of audience in Asia, so we've decided that 5 p.m. basically allows us to get people on the west coast of America at 9 a.m. East Coast, it gets them at lunchtime. UK gets people at 5 o'clock. And in India and across Asia, it's 9:30 at night. That is probably an optimal time for my audience, because Indian guys do work late. They work UK hours and stuff like that as well. So you might go, well, I'm cutting off half the Indian audience because they're clearly going to be chilling out at night, and not. A lot of guys over in Asia will work towards the UK or a European or an American time zone. I know certain Indian guys who sleep during the day and just work all night because of that. So again, that's in I've took the time to understand that of this particular industry that I'm involved in. Your industry may be slightly different. So, you just got to try and test different stuff out and see what. But, someone's always going to complain, saying, Craig, you're doing it at 5 o'clock when I'm driving home from work. What the fuck? In the UK. But it's you've got to pick what suits the greater amount of people out there. So try and test it is what I would say next, and see what happens. Christopher Berlin has over 17,000 connections, which is a hell of a lot of connections, but he's never had any sales through his network. But he has also said that LinkedIn's got a lot better since Microsoft took over. So is Christopher's problem he's not connecting with the right people? He's maybe not putting the right content out. Do you get sales through your LinkedIn Itamar or inquiries?
Sometimes I get with my LinkedIn personally, I just create conversation that can over time lead into inquiries, lead into new business and things like that. But obviously, Christopher, without knowing, what it is that you do and the types of connections that you have, it's a bit hard to kind of, say what you should do. But generally speaking, 17,000 people is a hell of a lot of people to be connected to. So maybe it's the case that you're accepting any old Tom, Dick, and Harry. Maybe you need to be a bit more stricter on who you accept. I don't know if they're all related to the industry that you work with, because it just seems a bit strange if 17,000 people who you've got on LinkedIn, which is a professional social media platform, and if they're all in your industry and you haven't got any sales or at least inquiries or things like that, then that would be a bit worrying. So sometimes it's just down to kind of auditing your connections, looking at their pages. Are they the right fit for you? Maybe LinkedIn is suggesting you to other people who aren't relevant because of the current people you have in your network. So maybe it's just the whole concept of auditing and maybe pruning your network to make it more relevant.
Cool. Robin Janine McLennan, I hope you're actually from Scotland. I can't really tell from this picture, but you've got a big jacket on, so it probably is. Probably very cold, although it's warm today. As an illustrator artist, I wonder if LinkedIn can be useful for me at all. I make a lot of content for other platforms and utilize SEO well, but consider LinkedIn business to business. Is this true? I find it hard to figure out who I'm talking to in LinkedIn. Is it people who will buy my products or give my industry exposure?
Well, can be both, really, can't it? I mean, with LinkedIn, the good thing you can do is when you're searching for people to add, you can find people, in a certain city. You can find people with a certain title. So as long as you know who your ideal customer is or the ideal person you want to get connected with, then there's a lot of tools that you've got using LinkedIn to be able to find the right people who you should be connected with. And obviously, you will then get suggested to more people. So, when you have mutual connections with somebody, if they're from the same industry, then, that's another potential customer right there. So I think that's about it. Use the tools that you've got on LinkedIn to be more targeted towards who you're adding.
I think, it's definitely a case of having the right people in the right audience on there and putting out the right stuff. I put out a lot of tutorials. I put out, videos of talks that I've done at conferences, and I do that. I don't really sell as such, but I always get people saying, "Craig, can I pick your brain? Can I jump in a consult call? Do you white label your services? Do you do this? Do you do that?" So there definitely is scope for anyone to put stuff out there, and certainly as an illustrator and an artist, who is your ideal customer? Is it, I don't know what type of artist you are or whatever, but even your illustration. Say you were a graphic designer. I forget about the illustrator and the artist just now. If you're a graphic designer, you should be promoting all your graphics and all that kind of stuff or illustrations to people who sell that stuff. There's not enough good people out there who are turning good quality stuff out at a reasonable pace. And even just showcasing what you've got, and then people say, "Hey, Robin, really like these designs or that quirky shit you're doing there, or whatever it is you're doing. How much does one of them cost for me, or is that something we can white label? I can lots of business owners can sell that stuff. They just don't know someone who can do it at a scalable level. So I think it's just putting the stuff out there in the right way. I think the key to selling on things like LinkedIn and just selling digital stuff in general is not to sell. I know that seems really weird, but the best way of selling is not to sell. Make people hungry for it. Drop them a few knowledge bombs, or show them a couple of nice case studies, or whatever. And people say, "How the fuck did you do that? I want some of that. Help me out. Can I jump in a call, pick your brains?" You can charge people for all of that, consult calls, whatever. I do a lot of them. People pay to grill the shit out of me. And even get me to go in and train their internal teams, just to have a different voice to listen to. So there's lots of different ways you can make money. It's just being connected with the right people and putting out the right content. I think it sounds like an old cliche, but that is the way it goes. Manny Kumar, best free tool for SEO. I'm going to say to this one, there is no such free thing out there. If you want to use something free, go and use Uber Suggest or something for keyword research. If you want something free, go and use Google AdWords keyword tool or whatever it is. They do not give you the same data as a paid tool. So if you're looking for free, then you're always going to be scrimping and scraping at the bottom of the barrel. Find the best tool for SEO, not the best free tool. You may say, "I've not got enough budget for that," but then you need to aspire and climb and find the budget for that stuff. Itamar's a young guy starting his way in the world in this industry, and he has to find budget for it. It's not something he wants to pay for. None of us want to pay for it, but I think looking for the free tools all the time is just not going to be the best use of your time. I think you'll be going round in circles, and that's why I want to hit that point home, is just stop looking for free all the time. Look for the best tool. And if you can't afford it just now, then figure out a way, sign up 2 clients that can help you pay for it, and, make it part of one of your client deals. I don't know. By hook or by crook, make sure you get it. But there is no good free SEO tool out there that I would particularly recommend. What about yourself, Itamar?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there. I think, people need to look for the best. And in an industry like digital marketing where it's so saturated, there's so many people doing it. And, the quality of work and using the right tools, which 9 times out of 10 is going to be paid, probably 10 times out of 10 is going to be paid. But, you've got to do what's right. You've got to be the best at what you do. And looking for free tools, unfortunately, isn't gonna do it.
I mean, there are ways if you use your creative mind. If you want to use a best tool and you don't want to pay full price for it, there always is a workaround somewhere. Go find that workaround. Go check the forums, see what everyone else is doing. If they can't afford it or don't want to pay for it or whatever the thing may be, there's always a workaround as well. But use the best tools. LinkedIn user, how would SEO work for accessibility? It's a very, very generic, vague question. If you could tell us a bit more about what you actually mean by that, we'll come back to that one. Paul Hogden, good to see you, Paul. How long does it take for a Google stack to index? Do you play with Google stacks, Itamar?
Nope. This is on you.
So Google stacks, I mean, obviously it's the same as anything. How long does it take to index? It could be 48 hours. It could be 2 weeks. It really comes down to luck. What I tend to do is use indexing tools like Omega Indexer and stuff like that, and make sure that everything gets run through that. It gets smashed out on social media profiles. Whether those are fake personas or not is entirely up to me. I don't want to smash them all out. I don't want everyone knowing what my Google stacks are through my own one. But, there's services out there like signalboy.com who is a whole bunch of fake personas. And I think them sharing, parts of your Google stack out there will help them get indexed quicker as well. So using SEO Autopilot just to bash it about, as well. There's loads of different ways to do it. But yeah, it's how long does it take to index it's hard to put a specific time on it. It's like asking me how long it's going to take to index a bunch of pages. It's not something I can put a time limit on anyway. Never found the secret sauce to doing that. Nick Lee is saying that LinkedIn's like Facebook 5 years ago. So much can be done with it. You're spot on. Will a LinkedIn post to your site help in SEO as a backlink? Just no. There are no follow. That's never going to happen. It's never going to pass juice, but it drives traffic. It will help, click-through rate, engagement, and all that stuff. So do not discount driving people to your website from LinkedIn. Just don't add it in the post, do it in the comments or whatever, so that you get more exposure. Robin, the tutorials is really interesting. I'm definitely thinking to provide more value to people that will lead to sales, like tutorials. Yeah, I think that's your best bet, Robin. Just try different stuff and throw it out there and see what's best for you. Sadly, I'm not an artist, don't have those skills, so not get any experience in terms of viewers. I get that, it may be slightly harder to promote art to an audience, if you like, because it has people like different specific types of art as well. It's not like you just go and buy, go and add a bunch of people that like Van Gogh, or whatever. It's not quite as easy as that. So I think with you, a lot of tutorials, trying and testing different methods is really the only way that you're going to be able to do that, Robin. What about you, Itamar? Any other suggestions for Robin?
Yeah, I think, the thing that I always say when you want to be successful in business is that you have to provide value. You need to give people a reason to, get trust, build up trust in you. And you need to give people a reason as to why they would want to use you as opposed to anyone else on the market. And I think, providing value is the way to do that. And, it's such a generic word because value can be absolutely anything. But As long as you are being proactive, you do provide the value, you get connected with the right people, then 100% you will get business coming your way.
Yeah, no, I think it's being proactive, taking that action. As long as you don't get put off very quickly, you might go off. I've done it for 2 weeks and it's tedious, it's not working. Just think of it more of a long-term project. And fingers crossed that you get to that. But sadly, we are out of time for this week. We normally do these videos live, not live, every Tuesday at this time. We talk about different topics all the time, whether it be LinkedIn, whether it be link building, whether it be paid ads or whatever. What this is episode 10. We've done PBNs, affiliate marketing, a whole bunch of other stuff. Next week we're going to be doing scaling an agency. We will also be doing a lot of other stuff in the coming weeks as well. So we do one show a week, and we normally do them where you'll find them on. I think they also do come on. I do post them in Facebook anyway, so they're just never normally live. So if you do enjoy, please do give us a like or a comment or whatever it's going to be, and keep an eye on the YouTube channel, which I'll put on the link underneath, and also give Itamar. We'll put his on there as well. He's got a lot of new videos coming out on his YouTube channel. If you like just educational content, just give us a bit of love on there. But that is it for episode 10, and we will catch you next week, same time. Not on LinkedIn Live though. And we will be passing on more information next week on scaling an agency. So catch you all then, and thank you to everyone for taking the time to watch us live on LinkedIn as well. Thank you.
Cheers, everyone. Thank you.